Hey guys, what's up? Just finished recording the video. This is my second time doing it because I want to try to condense it. Um, it was a little over 26 minutes. I don't think I needed 26 minutes to. I ramble along too much. So hopefully I can condense this down. Hopefully this is condensed. If this is not condensed, then I'm just going to put up the first one and say the hell with it. And then it makes no sense because you won't even see this one, but whatever. Anyway. This one is, this is yet another one of those things that's been stewing around the noodle for a long period of time. Like I said before, I constantly have things going on in my head a lot. But sometimes it takes something else to kind of remind you that you got that going on or you thought of this before. And it's something else that makes you then bring it out to the forefront and bring out to the public. So this is it. And I think I hinted at this already in some other videos. Pretty sure I have. But I don't know if I ever devoted an entire video on this. So here we go. And this thing is on gun rights and gun so-called, when it comes to gun regulation and things like that. Well, really, it's more about the gun violence issue that tends to, be the shadow over these two other topics. Now, before I even go on with this, let's get this out the way right now so there will not be any confusion. In case some of you guys don't know this. If you've seen some really older videos of mine, you should already know this about me. But just in case you don't, because I know I have a lot of newcomers and I'm not necessarily going to go through my whole freaking catalog of videos. I do support the idea of gun rights, that people should be able to acquire any means that they can, within reason, of course, to defend themselves. I mean, I'm a martial artist, for God's sakes. Why would I think that it's okay to deny somebody else to be able to defend themselves? Hell, my friends know that I'm one of those people like, yeah, start your kids early. Treat them at least hand to hand. They need to know how to be able to protect themselves. Hell, my son, I'm already putting him through shit. You gotta know how to protect yourself. Even a rabbit will bite your fingers off if it has to, if you back it into a corner. So I don't see any reason why human beings need to be treated, they need to go through something to toss their lives away or put themselves in a position where they're screwed. That said, I also happen to be a believer of you can't have rights without responsibilities. So if it comes to ownership of a weapon, the responsibility that comes along with owning that weapon, proper training, the proper respect for having one of those, not abusing that particular tool, that's what it is, it's a tool. These things also have to be enforced. And just as I would not give a psychopath any one of my live swords, I'm certainly not going to give them a gun. These things need to be addressed. You can't just simply say, guns for everybody, and then later on complain because, a whole bunch of nuts are going around putting bullets in people's heads. There has to be some type of oversight on this, which is why I'm not completely against gun regulation. Now, that then, of course, opens up the whole can of worms about, well, what is proper gun regulation? What is good laws and good rights? And then you're getting into the whole thing about they don't even know what an assault rifle is, limiting ammunition, all those other BS, which I'm not going to get into. But I do think that, again, laws, just like rights within reason, laws within reason. You got to have the right people legislating this stuff, and that's as far as I'm going to go on that. So hopefully I've cleared that up. Before to anything else, I want you guys to at least keep that in your mind. I'm not against people owning weaponry. So what's got me talking about this? Well, Skall made a video earlier, a couple of days back, where he starts talking about gun rights. And I more or less agreed with it, pretty much. But the back of my mind, I was thinking, see, he lives in Canada, and he comes from Europe. And while he has told me things about how, there are certain things about Europe that is, that he didn't like, a bit repressive in some ways. In other ways, they're a little bit more free. And one thing that cannot be denied is that there are certain European countries that allow, the personal use and acquiring of firearms. Switzerland comes to mind, my mind, immediately when I'm thinking like European countries that have, weapons. And this, hell, a lot of people's minds. It's a favorite to pick. But it's a favorite of mine for a couple of reasons. It's not just because... The reason why I like picking that one is because of the whole subject of gun violence, which is what was on my mind as I was watching this video. And it's the big thing that governs a lot of the talk in this country about owning firearms. When it comes to gun violence, the U.S. certainly has a major problem with it. I'm not going to say it's the only country that has a problem with it, because I know that's not true, but we got a major freaking problem with it. let's be honest. I mean, to the point where other nations are like pointing fingers and look, what's wrong with those idiots? What the hell is wrong with these people? You know, it's bordering on psychotic, if not completely psychotic, with the way gun violence explodes in this country. If you look at countries like Switzerland that allow, people to own guns, they don't have this problem. Other countries that allow people to own firearms, they don't have the problem as bad as we do, if they have it at all. Many of them don't. So what's going on? Now here's where we get the BS answers and the scapegoating on this issue or that issue, which I find ironic considering that the people who are proponents of gun rights are saying that people are scapegoating guns, which I think is true. You can't just simply say, oh, it's the gun's fault, that's why there's gun violence, because look at these other countries, they got guns. It's not it. You're just scapegoating it. But then these same people then scapegoat things like movies and video games. See, that's really? This is a complicated issue. I think this is rooted with culture. You can't just point at any one thing, really, and say that that's what it is. I think there's several factors. Some factors weigh more than others, as we'll see. But I think that you can't just simply take like something, especially something that's like guns. It's a tool. All it is just a tool. How it's used is what's going to cause a problem or not. So to simply say this tool is the problem, take away this tool, is to be like kindergarten rational thinking. Like, this kid just did bad things with this toy, so let's just take the toys away. And I'm sorry for that. It's a bad analogy because guns aren't toys, but hopefully you see what I mean. Like, well, the whole class can't have it now because Billy was using it wrong. Nah, Billy's the problem. And you got to figure out why Billy is using it wrong. That's the, mature way to handle it, the smart way to handle it. But we're not doing that with guns. And I'm thinking it's because the real underlying issue is something that nobody really wants to talk about because some people are benefiting off of it. If you were to back me up into a corner and try to force me to point at the one underlying thing that I think is the problem with gun violence here, if it's going to be, which is why the whole waters are muddied when it comes to gun rights and all that. If you had to pin me to a wall and say, I want you to name that one thing, let's simplify it. Lack of humanity. That's it. That's the problem. I think that's the underlying problem, which is causing these other problems which factor into the gun violence here. Nobody gives a fuck about human life in this country. That's what it is. If you really don't care about human life, if you see human beings as a means to an end, if you're just using them in order to, prop your own self up while they suffer, if, you're profiting off of their suffering or, their labor and not caring what happens to them. If killing them is not going to mean a damn thing to you. Whether you do it with a gun or whether you do it through economics. Doesn't matter. They're just numbers. Things to be exploited. You won't care. Now, with some people when I brought this topic up in my life, bringing up the subject of lack of humanity, and that's what's causing, a lot of the violence we're seeing and a lack of respect for human life and all that. Yeah, that's what I usually hear, some stuff like, yeah, kids don't know how to respect, kids have no respect anymore these days. There was a time when they would respect their parents and listen to the elders, and that's what's causing, and that's what I have to be like, no, hold it. Fuck you. You're taking yourself out the equation. You're part of the problem too. In fact, just from that answer you gave me, I'm pretty sure you're part of the problem because it's a lot deeper than that. That superficial answer doesn't do it for me. It's not just about the kids not respecting the adults. That's part of it, sure. But it's like deep in this culture. It's very tenacious how it works. It's not just about something as superficial as just spank your kids more. Okay? it's a lack of respect and a lack of humanity that is in just about everything we do and how people think and how the country functions. And it's, you know, something that people don't even think about. And it goes against many of the crap that they say. Like, ideologies, whether it's religious or political, saying the same crap all the time about respect for life. You got the anti-abortion people, respect for life, and people saying their religion respects life, like human life is number one, and yet their actions, I don't give a fuck what you're saying. I'm looking at your actions, your day-to-day activity, and that pretty much tells me how you really function, what really governs how you live. And if you look at the way this country functions generally, human life ain't, nobody gives a fuck. Okay, it's, churches can say whatever, you know, religions can say whatever the hell they want and talk about anti-abortion all they want. But when that kid is alive, how quick are you to argue against things like free lunches in schools, for instance? Or better yet, are you the type of person who's one of the usual idiots who's complaining about, all these idiots on, you know, on welfare and food stamps buying lobsters and steaks? Let's examine that one. Not only is it completely untrue, I've always hated that stereotype, that stupid lie about how people on food stamps are buying steaks and lobster. Please, I know people with regular paychecks. I can't go out and buy steak and lobster every day. I work. And even that's unfair to say, because a lot of the people on food stamps, they work. Especially after this freaking economic crash we went through. And the economy still basically sucks. People in middle class used to be able to, you know, make ends meet. They can't make ends meet anymore. They got to pay the bills and they got to eat. Paychecks ain't doing it anymore. The job that they either lost their job, the job's not paying them as much, or, you know, expenses shot up. All three, in fact, hit this country. What are you going to do? A lot of them are on the dole now. Most of them are white. Something to consider. I really wish that was said more often so people could see the truth of the situation in this country, how bad things have gotten. For somebody to say that thing and make an argument about these people getting lobsters and steaks says a great deal to me about how little humanity is respected in this country. Because, I mean, just think about that statement for a second, whether you happen to believe it or not. You're basically saying that you have a problem with people being able to get decent food. You really must not give two shits about somebody's welfare if you want them to, like, pretty much eat garbage because they're poor. You have a problem with them getting food because they're poor. For whatever reason, whether it's out of jealousy, whether you think they don't deserve it, whatever, it's food. People need food to survive. I mean, it used to be in ancient cultures where somebody came to your house, you were expected to share your food and break bread with them. Now you got motherfuckers going, how dare they be able to eat well? This is what I mean by how pervasive this lack of humanity is in this country. I'm not so sure if anybody's really dissected that statement that way. I mean, I've heard some people talk about, look how much, you know, I've heard people, you know, bring up the BS about begrudging people food with that statement. But I don't know if people have really looked at that and seen that, wait a second. Just the fact that a good portion of people in this country believe that and have a problem with that, we got a problem. Wow, we really don't care about people anymore, do we? Humanity doesn't mean shit. And it's not just that one thing. There's so many other little things. How many of you guys remember a time when you used to have an hour for lunch? I remember that time. One of my favorite jobs a long time ago that I forgot, one of my first jobs, had an hour lunch. And I was working in a bookstore. Okay? One of the best jobs I had. Worked in a bookstore. Had an hour lunch. And whether you think that's a big deal or not, no, it's a big deal to be able to have time. This is the other thing that's the underlying thing that people don't seem to understand or care about humanity anymore, see what a human being really needs. You had time. If you didn't bring your food with you, you could at least go out and get it. But if you did bring it with you, even better. You had time to get your food prepared, sit down, eat, mingle with the people you were with, chat, or maybe just relax a little bit, finish your food, let it digest a bit before you went back to work. These things help you to do your work better. Think about how you live at home. The way you conduct yourself at home when you're eating food and all that before you have to do your house chores, don't you give yourself a little bit of time to do it? Unless you're feeling rushed. And if you're feeling rushed at home, there better be a damn good reason for it. You gotta give yourself a little time, if you're in the middle of work and then you're taking a break, you take a bit of a break. If you're gonna eat, you're gonna eat, you're gonna let yourself sit and digest, and you can give yourself some time. Work, you don't have that. Because you're not treated as human at work, you're treated as a machine. You just simply treat it as a means to an end. This person is here to make me my millions. That's it. Now you got a half-hour lunch, if you're lucky. Some people only get 15 minutes. You don't even get breaks anymore. I remember jobs where I had an hour lunch and 2 15-minute breaks. That's like a luxury today. And you need that time for yourself to feel like a human freaking being, to function like a full functioning human being. Things like that actually help you to do your job better because you're not stressed out, you're not overtired, you don't got food still freaking, going through shit while you're doing whatever the hell it is you're doing. These little things matter. These are the things that make people feel, I care about you. Little things like that make people feel like they're needed. And feeling like they're needed makes them feel like their lives are worth something. Recently, there's been more and more studies showing that Americans are feeling listless in life. They feel like their lives don't matter. They're just cogs in a machine. And the reason why they're feeling that way is because, quite frankly, they are. And this is why more and more people are trying to find escapes. They're escaping through so many ways: drugs, drinking, going to bars, clubbing, video games, you name it. They're trying to find some way to escape the life that they're living because the life that they're living feels like a prison. They can't even have time to rest, much less time to be themselves. You got to wait until you retire. And that's going up higher all the time. You used to be 50s, now you got to wait until you're 60s, now you got 70s, just to have time for yourself to do whatever, to feel like a human being. Because your life is not valued as a human being. Here, you're only valued by your productivity and how much you are worth. So, in other words, you're just an object. You don't have the time. You don't have time to yourself to really pursue any hobbies or interests you may have that may, educate you in certain ways, enrich your life in a certain way. Our little hobbies, yeah, people make it's just your hobby or whatever, but these type of things make us actually appreciate life a little bit more often, don't they? Take time for yourself, to enjoy yourself. Our freaking pets have better lives than we do in that sense because they're able to pursue their interests no matter what. They're able to take a nap whenever they want. We can't do that. Why? Because somebody else wants to get a new yacht off of us this year. Your life's not valued as a human being. And when your life is not valued as a human being, if your life ain't worth shit, then the person next to you is definitely not worth shit. And this is definitely what I would call a trickle-down effect. When your leaders, your bosses or whatever, basically consider your life to be worthless, only something to be used, well, when you're trying to get up and over and, better your life, what are you going to do? You got that example right in front of you. And this also goes in the way we treat one another. Plus, in a situation where you're stressed out, frustrated, and other people are stressed out and frustrated, that breeds animosity. That breeds that sort of get the fuck out of my way. And now the people around you are seen as nuisances. You know how we deal with nuisances. Mosquito comes, bite you. It's nothing for you to just swat a fly, kill it, kill the mosquito, whatever. Human life, same thing. And hey, guns make it easier. Now, whether you happen to be using the gun because you feel this person's a nuisance, bang, gone. You are building some type of, criminal activity and criminal businesses, and you got to get certain people out the way, bang, gone. And then you wonder why kids are running around blasting people, in the face with guns. Well, they got adult examples to look at. Violence is the answer when human lives aren't worth a goddamn thing. As responsible gun owners will tell you, and they've said this to me plenty of times, and I happen to agree with it because I've said it many times myself in different contexts, but it's the exact same thing. No one with respect for human life will just pull the trigger for the dumbest of reasons. They're not going to put a bullet in you just because they're angry. But you see that a lot here. Because human life doesn't mean a damn thing, and it's pervasive. It's how we live. It's how we think. It's how our country functions. Human life doesn't mean anything but profit for somebody else or a nuisance to be gotten rid of. You are a means to an end, and deep down you know it. If humanity was respected, that would lessen the violence. The gun issue would not be an issue. Whether you're and again, whether you're killing somebody through economics, which happens a lot in this country, or whether you're killing somebody with several bullets through their torso, the underlying thing that's causing it is not seeing them as human beings with lives worthy of respect and preservation. If you walk with an ideology that believes that certain people deserve rights and other people don't, that's a lack of respect for humanity. Or you're seeing a group of people as less than human. So you're going to treat them like shit. And it's nothing for you to kill them or do whatever it is that you want to do with them, exploit them, whatever. It's even in our day-to-day lives, just everyday social lives, whether a woman is going to be using a man for money or vice versa, whether a man is going to simply use a woman as, just to, satisfy, his sexual urges, or vice versa, and just simply seeing them as objects, means to an end, you're not really showing much respect for the human life in front of you. This is pervasive. People are just things to be used or things to be gotten rid of. That's the underlying issue, the lack of humanity. That, if you had to pin me up against the wall and say, what's the one thing you think it is, that's it. If you cannot, I honestly think that it is incomplete to have a discussion about gun rights and legislation without talking about that, because that's the main thing that is causing us to have this argument over gun rights in the first place. All the deaths, all the stuff going on. Well, you need to have a serious look at yourself. This video has gotten longer, but at least it's under 26. I'm going to end it here. This culture seriously needs to sit the fuck down and look at itself when it comes to how we treat each other and how we look at one another. Our economics need to change. Our government needs to change. The laws we come up with needs to change. How we look at one another needs to change. Our ideologies certainly need to change. And I don't see that happening anytime soon. And what's cracking me up right now about this issue is that some of the people, who have a whole ideology that I feel are adding to this lack of humanity are the ones who right now worried so much about losing the rights to own guns. Well, there's a way you can keep them. But you may not want to go down that path. And that's the reason why you're facing this shit now. Everybody's got a hand in this. Everybody's got a lot to lose because of the culture that we're living. It's way past time we face that, but I don't know when we're going to see that. Anyway, I'm ending it here. This is way too freaking long. Catch you guys later.